Hey, hello. You're stuck in traffic with Wolf Gorlick. A few minutes riffing on IT and IT security. Today, looking at patch management, vulnerability management in the day and age of bundled applications. A while ago, I was helping an organization develop a PCI strategy, right? The payment card security compliance standard. And of course, the payment card security compliance standard says, thou shalt patch critical vulnerabilities within the next number of days. And we need to answer that. This was difficult for this organization because this organization was using software that had bundled a lot of different Linux components within it. Software's by a company called Jack Henry, if you're interested. And Jack Henry at the time was on, I think, 6-month release cycles. So what that meant was, the vulnerability comes out, everyone else is patching the vulnerability, but they had to wait up to 6 months until Jack Henry released a combined patch that addressed this bundle of software. So the tip for you is this: you need to think about these bundles, these software applications that include other applications within your vulnerability patch management solution. You need to have an idea of how you're going to handle them, an exception handling process, and visibility into where they are. This was definitely brought to light this month of July 2019, when Zoom was discovered vulnerable. You may have caught my previous video where I talked about it. There's this web service that was vulnerable. Everyone was like, ah, and Zoom's like, here's a patch, and Apple's like, I will eradicate it from everywhere, and there was a whole bunch of back and forth. It was predominantly a problem on the Mac OS. Now, the Apple application only removed Zoom. Didn't necessarily remove any of the bundles. The Zoom patch only patched Zoom. Didn't necessarily address some of the bundles. Bundles such as Polycom, bundles such as RingCentral, bundles such as Zulu. And so what that meant was, if you were using Polycom or RingCentral, which has a soft phone and everything else, if you're using those to do video conferencing with the Zoom platform, you were still vulnerable, even though Zoom might not see it. And Apple definitely wasn't seeing it at first. This illustrates the problem of bundled software, because a patch becomes available through the main vendor, and you can apply it if you got software through the main vendor. But if you got some of these bundled software packages, like the ones I just named, or like Jack Henry when I started off at the beginning of this talk, if you got some of these bundled software packages, you don't necessarily have the patch until the guys maintain the bundle get you the patch. So you have to have visibility into where these bundles are, and that can be pretty tricky, because if you're doing something like Polycom or RingCentral, that's handled by your phone people, and I'm sure they're not thinking about what is underneath the covers, and is there any vulnerabilities, and what's my patch process. It's not exactly, it's more of a security mindset, not a phone guy mindset. And if your phone guy is, awesome, and if you're a phone guy watching this, kudos, but not necessarily the standard. So you need to have visibility in these things. Not easy to do. And secondly, you have to have an exception handling process, because if you have a critical vuln and your process and policies say thou shalt patch within a certain amount of days, and you can't patch because you're waiting for the vendor, you're out of compliance unless you have some sort of exception handling process and you're tracking that. How are you handling these sort of things when you have these bundles? Hit me up in comments or social media. Cheers.